Welcome back to Long Delays Hobbies. The end of June is upon us already, and that means 2026 is halfway over, and it's also time for this month's Hobby Roundup. As you can see from what I have in front of me, this is kind of more or less what I got done this month. I kind of split my time between Horus Heresy, Word Bearers on the left, and then just some various projects I have in my backlog on the right. So the first thing I was able to finish up was this Rhino. I had it kind of halfway finished up at the end of last month, and I spent the first week or so just doing some highlighting and applying some decals. That took a little bit longer than I expected, just applying decals. So because I had never really applied decals on this scale before to a tank, so it's been kind of a learning experience for me, just painting the Word Bearers in general. I kind of got a hold of some Horus Heresy decals. I had some of these that are like the Roman numeral 17. I had those like printed off for me and kind of put them all over the tank. My theme for this was that these were kind of early Horus Heresy Word Bearers, so they don't have a lot of the like flaming skull iconography that you see like in 40k. So I wanted them to kind of look a little bit different than 40k Word Bearers. Not too unhappy with how they turned out. The decals I think could have turned out a little bit better, but you know, as I said, it's a learning experience. I plan on getting another Rhino, maybe getting it to look a little bit better, but overall, not unhappy with it. The thing I was probably happiest with this month were these breachers, Word Bearer breachers. I put a lot of time into them. This is actually only half a squad in Horus Heresy. The minimum squad size for breachers is 10. And this was only 5, so I'm gonna paint up the other 5 this month, probably, maybe in August. July or August. I'm not really planning on using them anytime soon, but I still just want to knock them out of my backlog. There was like a new box, that was like a box set that had like the Mark III breachers in them. I used some of the Mark III helmets on a few of them just to distinguish them a little bit. I didn't like just want them to all have the same helmets. I used some of those same Roman numeral decals, and that's kind of what took the longest on these guys was applying the decals. I had to paint the shield separately just to get them to look decent, but overall, I'm kind of happy with how they turned out. I had to go get, for some of them, like this guy and this guy, the sergeant, had to go find some masking tape to get this kind of line down the middle to look somewhat clean. This is kind of the look I'm going for with them. Like the book and flame iconography is kind of what I want to have applied to my Word Bearers, rather than there's like a book and skull is what you normally see with them. Because these are early Heresy / late Crusade Word Bearers, I'm trying to avoid that. The shields, you know, with breachers, kind of the iconic thing is the shields, and I think the shields turned out pretty well. So I painted up the new quote unquote Gothmog. I say new. He came out like in the end of 2024, so about 18 months ago. In Middle Earth, something is new if it came out like less than 5 years ago. So I'll still call him new. He probably could have turned out a little bit better, but I did want to just knock him out. The skin color I'm happy about. You know, it's not a super complicated model in terms of like paints used. It's basically just like red, silver, brown plus skin tone. So, and again, as far as the color palette, like I'm pleased with how the color palette turned out. This is kind of accurate to how his skin tone looks in the movie, more or less. And I did make a how I painted video on Gothmog, if you want to check that out. So for the skin, I just used Rakarth flesh and then washed it with Nuln Oil, then layered it with Pallid Witch flesh, which turned out to be a little bit too bright. So I then dulled it down a little bit with some Reikland flesh shade, and then I got the skin color I wanted. Now, what I kind of dislike about the skin, at least in the foot model, but I think there's probably still a little bit too much shade showing here. I might need to just go back and touch that up a little bit. But as far as the actual skin tone, I think it looks all right. Pretty simple model of paint, which is I kind of wanted to break after going into all the details of painting those breachers and so forth. So it was a good breather. This is what like Middle Earth foot heroes are for. After I finish going like knee deep into like a bunch of infantry models, I just pull out some of these little infantry foot models from Middle Earth and just knock them out. As far as painting goes, the last kind of project I knocked out were some Riders of Rohan. These guys have been sitting in my backlog actually for a very long time. So I got these actually in the Pelennor box. If you're familiar at all with Middle-earth, you'll know that the Pelennor box was discontinued. It came out actually, I don't know, 8 years ago or something. I didn't get them 8 years ago, but I've had them for probably 5 years. I decided, kind of counterintuitive to what maybe some people would do, is that the new ones are coming out. The announcement for the new ones was just like 2 days ago as I'm recording this. I decided that what better time to paint up these old ones and no longer have them in my backlog than when the new ones are just about to come out, because I don't like to have just old minis that I'm never going to paint just sitting in my backlog. I tried to paint the horses a little bit better. I don't usually go into this much depth when I'm painting my horses. Rather than just giving them like one base coat and a dry brush, I actually kind of did a little bit of highlighting. And I also use colors that I don't normally use. This is the first time I tried like a palomino, which is like a light brown coat. I did some different highlighting on the mane and the tail. I tried to level up my horse painting game just a little bit. I don't know if the results actually show that, but I tried. Just for me personally, I think these turned out better than the last batch of Riders of Rohan that I did. So I don't have any more Riders of Rohan to paint as of this recording. In fact, I don't have, the only Rohan I have left to paint are some Commanders and Hera, the Bride of Death. There's one more thing I painted this month, which I just painted yesterday. I'm going to work on some Wordbearers Cataphractii Terminators, and I didn't want them to be red. I wanted to, I kind of like whenever Terminators are in kind of an alternate paint scheme. So I, was looking around at what alternate paint colors there are for Wordbearers, and I kept coming across gray, like light gray, like Ashen Circle, especially during the Horus Heresy. So I painted up this kind of test model for Cataphractii Terminators. I think it looks all right. The decals kind of come out looking a little bit small, but unfortunately this is the only scale I could get to work. So I think it still looks pretty good. I got kind of the flame here because, the early iconography and early lore of the Wordbearers, they kind of burn everything. Got our little runes here on the side. I think it looks all right. I don't think it looks too bad. So I'm going to paint up at least one squad of Cataphractii Terminators for my Wordbearers using this gray paint scheme. I may switch back to the red for my other squad. I have 2 squads of Terminators to paint. And that was it for everything I had painted. It was a fairly productive month, at least by my standards, getting 2 squads, one for each game, a hero, and a fairly, decent sized vehicle finished. I also did some other work as well. I built these Cataphractii Terminators. So I built a squad of 6, one of which I just showed you that I painted. So I built one with the Reaper auto cannon, and then the rest are going to have power mauls. This is kind of like the standard loadout that comes in the box. Power mauls and Volkite cannons. I personally think that that's kind of the cool way to build them. I did green stuff like some scrolls to each of them. Like you can see on the one that I've already painted, they're going to have little scrolls on them. And these guys, maybe this is written to the Emperor, maybe this is to Lorgar, maybe they're to the Chaos Gods, who knows. I did like that idea of just putting a little scroll there to make them look a little bit more Wordbearersy. The Sergeant has 2 scrolls because, he's super devoted. Last but not least, I built another Leviathan Dreadnought. This one has double claws. Traded with somebody over in a local gaming group. He had a second claw that he wasn't going to use. I have already built one with like the shooting variety that's got like the guns. So I wanted to have one that had combat options. So I just thought double claw just looked kind of cool. I built him. He's got his double claw. He's going to have his Wordbearer's scroll, and I'm going to put some more iconography on him, the books and the more Wordbearer stuff whenever I get him painted up. I have finished building him. The weather's not great right now, as it is in most of the northern hemisphere. Probably going to be a while before I can actually prime him, but he is built and ready to go whenever the weather cools down a little bit. So as far as purchases go, I did buy the Dunland Commanders. Well, I pre-ordered them. They haven't arrived yet, obviously, because they don't even go officially on pre-order until Saturday. So it'll be almost 2 more weeks before I can actually get them in my hands. But as soon as I have them in my hands, I plan on painting them. So looking forward to that. We'll see if the weather permits me to prime them. But at the very minimum, I'm going to build them up. Looking forward to that. And that just about does it for what I got done this month. I feel it was a pretty productive month. Got some Riders of Rohan knocked out. Got some Horus Heresy knocked out. Feel I made up for a pretty unproductive month of May. What did you get done this month in July? Or what would you like to get done during the month of July? What did you get knocked out during June? Thank you very much again for watching this video. And don't forget to have a great day. And if you're not already, have a great summer. Take care.